Hello, and welcome to another tantalising taste of Landmark Beta with me, Binage. Well, it's been a busy week this week over in SOE Land, and they've brought us quite a big bag of goodies. So I shall try and rattle through them so as not to take up too long, but there have been a lot of changes. First thing is kind of a technical thing. They call it roaming vectors, and I shan't go into quite how they work because, if I'm honest, I'm not entirely certain how it works myself. It's about how voxels distort and the distortion that they cause around them when they're altered. Beyond that, look it up. It's going to be much easier than listening to me waffle on about it. Now, what they've done with these roaming vectors is that they've made blocks much cleaner. So previously, if for example one were to take a slice out of a sphere, it would be quite untidy, and you need to copy it a number of times into a tube and then smooth it and then cut out the centre of the tube in order to get anything like a smooth disc. But look at this behind me. That I have just cut out of a sphere and done nothing at all. And it's a pretty damn good disc. If you see, there is no artifacting at all. It's really clean. So whatever they've done, I approve of it. It's very good. Now, what happens when you chop the sphere, I thought was actually kind of interesting. The north half of the sphere, as you see, is beautifully preserved. You could do fantastic things with that. The south side, though, look at that. That's artifacted to hell and back, which is very interesting. I guess, they can get rid of the distortions, but the distortions have to go somewhere, and it looks as though the distortions migrate southwards. Oop. Right. Let me clear the sphere out of the way, and then I'll get on to the next bit. There. That's better. Now this brings us on to voxel cursor changes. Now they've made a huge change about the sizes of voxel cursors. Now, a voxel cursor, in case you were wondering, is if I plump it down there, that is your voxel cursor. There. It's the outline of a shape that you're going to affect in some way, either to place, which is this one, or to paint, or whatever you're doing to it. It has a cursor. It is generally the shape of the thing. Whoops. Right. Now, what they have done, it used to be that they would increase by a factor of 3. So you would go from there, and by rolling the mouse wheel one time, it would actually go up by a factor of 3. So from a 1 voxel cube, you would go up to a 3 voxel cube. So from 1 to 3 on a side, and then it would go to 6 on a side, and then to 9. Now what they've done is much more sensible. It's gone from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 and so on. It goes up in increments of 1 now. Why it wasn't done before, I don't know, but I'm glad that they've changed it. It makes resizing stock shapes like spheres and cubes and the other things that you can see just in front of me here, it makes them much easier to control, which is great. Now we've also looked at the way I think probably roaming vectors is we're going back to roaming vectors. They've also changed the way that the stock shape, so that's, if I open this, and there, these shapes here, they've changed the way they work, so that, I don't know if you remember, okay, select the cube. Those stock shapes, they were removed in the past a few weeks ago, and then people kicked up a fuss and they were reinstated, but they were removed because they said, well, we want to bring some, they're not doing what we want them to do, we want them to do better, and we're going to remove them. In the meantime, they went back on that, but they have delivered on the making it better. So now, before you could only, they're really only any use for sort of large shapes, like the ones behind here, but now you can actually take them down to the single voxel size, and that's fantastic. I mean, particularly for this these four things here, that's brilliant. Although it has it's not flawless as you go smaller. The wedge is absolutely flawless at 1 voxel. It's superb, and you used to have to let me see, use the line tool facing east in order to get a wedge like this. You now just click that. It's so much easier, and I'm really glad. That's a really positive change. The other shapes don't really hold up quite as well. If I zoom in a bit, as you see, they don't. They're still pretty faithful. Actually, they're not bad, but they don't. They're not superb. This one, again, like the wedge, is extremely good. And this one, again, not perfect, but not bad, actually. So, I mean, that's really good news that they've addressed this. The sphere really can't go reliably below 6. So this in front of me here is a 6x6 sphere, and that is the smallest that it can reasonably go. If you go to a single voxel sphere, you come out with a sort of a not quite microvoxel. One more smooth down, that would be a microvoxel, but well, it's not a useless thing by any means, but it's not a sphere. I think you'll agree. Now, helpfully, with the sphere tool, if I go to add and then change the volume, you'll see it's red. Now, when it's red, it means, I'm sorry, I can't draw a sphere. My sphere will end up looking bad. But as you increase the size, still red, there. Suddenly, it goes from no, you're going to get a D20, up to yes, you'll get something that looks pretty much like a sphere. So it goes from red when it can't do it reliably to yellow when it can do it reliably. So that's pretty damn helpful, actually. Something you can do with the wedge that, just to give you an example, that used to be a nightmare, is this shape, which is superb. It just gives all manner of different possibilities for building, and gives people access to much cleaner lines, which is great. Anything that does that and takes away the drudgery of achieving smoother lines is great from my perspective. Now, thanks to a post on a thread on the official forum, the developers took a look at how Voxel Materials matched up with their Voxel grid, i.e. how the art of a material was represented on the Voxel scale, and they've matched them up much closer. So if we take let's make a cube again. No. Cube, thank you. Up, and clunk. Right. If we select a different thing. So one of the things they've done is dull copper panels. There we go, perfect. So if we paint that there, it's actually much more aligned to voxel size. Not sure if it goes. Okay, should have been more aligned to voxel size. Isn't. That's rubbish. Maybe it's because I had the actual cursor itself set too high. So let's try that again with a smaller cursor. Boom. Yes, rivets. They have made into there's a rivet every other voxel now, which isn't ideal, frankly. The ideal would be a rivet every voxel, so that one could place the rivets exactly where one wants to. But you know, it's a work in progress. Hopefully, we'll convince them that regardless of their sensibilities, what we want is what we want. And we have reasons for wanting textures that may be a little denser than they're comfortable with. Anyway, more arty news. We've got 4 new shades of slate. Yeah, slate. 4 shades. Here they are. So here's our original worked slate. Then here we have darker worked slate. Here, I can't remember what this one's called. What's this one called? Oh no, sorry, this one here is worked slate, dark worked slate, darker worked slate, very dark worked slate, and darkest worked slate. Yeah, because we really needed 5 different shades of a stone that's only, well, no, I don't use slate very much, but other people I'm sure do. I question the need for 5 shades of it, though. Really, when we don't have non-luminous primary colours, for example, the only primary colours we've got are luminous or metallic. We don't have anything that's matte in a primary colour, and really that should have been their priority, not 50 shades of grey. We've got loads of stone textures. They're great for down the line, but for now, basic building blocks are, you know, the order of the day, and colour is a basic building block, please. Anyway, that's, I think, done with grumbling. So moving on. Oh no, I have a little bit of a grumble about these, but they're great anyway. We've got trapdoors. Look at that. They're beautiful things. Now we've got, going from left to right, we've got a burled wood trapdoor, and that takes 20 burled wood planks and 2 iron ingots. And then we've got a plain wood trapdoor, which takes 20 plain wood planks and 2 iron ingots. And a striped wood trapdoor, which takes 20 striped wood and 2 iron ingots. Surprise, surprise. Then here we've got a cobalt trapdoor, which takes 6 cobalt ingots and 1 gold ingot. And last but not least, we have the iron trapdoor, which takes 6 iron ingots and 1 tin ingot. Now these look fab. They're great. What would have been greater, if I'm being picky, and you know me, I'm always picky. What would have been greater is if somehow we'd been given a trapdoor that we could paint. That we could just say, I want this texture on this trapdoor, please. Because that would have meant that instead of giving us 5 different props, they could have given us 1 prop that we could then have coloured, that would have given us all of the things that we can build. Now, somewhat amusingly, these things are titled as, you know, somewhere to put something where you don't necessarily want others to find it, always to that effect. So they're supposed to be slightly concealed. Now, while one could conceal them, you'd have to actually deliberately make the surroundings exactly the same texture, and yeah, that's kind of specific. If you want a concealed door, you want to be able to colour it the same shade as the surroundings, not vice versa. Anyway, they're great. They're really good. Nice smooth opening. And there you go. And I won't bother demonstrating them all. They all open and they all close. And thanks to the hinges, they're really easy to place. Really easy to place. You can see at a glance which way they're going to open, which is something that you couldn't on the rough wooden doors. So I foresee in my future replacing the rough wooden doors, probably with these, which is superb. I'm really, really happy with that. Let me just zip you up to the cottage for a quick look at books. Back in a tick. So here we are in the cottage, and we've got books. They're freestanding books, which is really good, actually. I'm very pleased that we've got them. God, I'm just going to be griping about absolutely everything this week, aren't I? I'm clearly not in a good frame of mind. But their use is somewhat limited because, as you notice, each of these stacks has a diagonal book in them. These are probably worse than this one. This one you could probably conceal. But yeah, you can put them this way round, but you can't really change them to a different orientation because it would look daft. And that's kind of a shame. And what would have been so much more useful, I think, is if they'd given us two books. Just literally a fat book and a thin book, and that would have been superb because we could have done this donkey work ourselves of copying them out and slightly increasing the scale on some and slightly decreasing the scale on others, so that you would get this slightly uneven thing. And we can slope props ourselves. We can do that really easily. So we could have created these gaps. As it is, we've got these dreadful repeating patterns, and well, they're not dreadful repeating patterns, but they are repeating patterns. And I mean, if you look here and here, it's really obvious that it's just the same thing with different colours. Whereas if we'd been given books, you know, a fat book and a thin book, and you know, ideally, you know, been able to colour them ourselves, but you know, of different colours, if you know, if that's not an option, then that would have been so much more useful, because we could have, you know, I could have left a book by my bedside table, or maybe a small stack on my desk. I could have absolutely rammed these bookshelves full of books. To be honest, I still could, because I could take this stack here of thin books and duplicated it and sort of squanched it in, but it would have been, it's fiddly. Let's be honest, it's fiddly, and I could have done without it. And if I'd had just two bundles of book, one fat, one thick, of different colours, if you like, then superb. Again, the art department have done too much. They have given us more detail than is actually useful for a building game. We don't want detail like this. It's not useful. It limits what we can do. Give us one book, and we can do a load with that one book. We can do an incredible amount with just one book. Give us a stack of books that are like this. All we can use them for is stacks of books just like this. We can't do anything else with them, and that's a real shame. But anyway, what we have is a row of heavy red books down here, a row of thin red books, a row of heavy purple books up here, and a row of thin purple books here. So the row of thin red books rather, is exactly the same as this, but with red colouring instead of this. Instead of the blues and purples, we're going to have reds. Yeah, they're nice. They're nice books, but as I say, would have been so much better if they'd just given us a book. Less is more. Less is more. Right. I think now we're going back to the workshop to take a peek at some more props. Woohoo! Back in tick. There. That wasn't quick. That wasn't. Didn't take long, did it? Righty-ho, more props, and this time with a sci-fi vibe, which will please some people out there, no doubt. What we have here is we have controls. I should have got this thing. Right, controls. So we have a control panel, a small control panel, and a round control panel. Now, each one of these come in batches of 5, and each one takes 5 cobalt ingots, 30 emerald ingots, and 20 emerald ingots. 5 cobalt ingots, 30 emeralds, and 20 sapphires. So finally, you're getting stuff to do with all that cobalt you mined before. Then we go to the switches here. The switches, I have to say, are non-functional currently. They just sit there looking like, well, like that, really. Anyway, you've got over here a floating knob, a floating lever, which, if you can just see, there we go, has an animated thread running through it, which is kind of pretty. Of course, these are props. They can be scaled up and probably scaled down, which means that you can do all manner of fun things with these, and I'm sure that people will. Anyway, what was I? Floating lever, floating sphere, and a large switch. I guess the idea is that you push that button or something. No idea, but I'm sure that people will find a use for that. Anyway, these switches, they all cost, for a batch of 5 cobalt ingots, 20 emeralds, and 30 sapphires. Again, reminder that these come in batches of 5, so if you want 5 switches, don't, for goodness sake, do 5, just do 1, if you see what I mean. Right, pipes next. Here we have a junction pipe, a short straight pipe, a long straight pipe, an elbow pipe, and an end cap pipe. Now these will set you back 5 cobalt ingots, and all but the short pipe here will take an additional 50 sapphire. So the short pipe is just 5 cobalt ingots, everything else is 5 cobalt ingots and 50 sapphire, which, when you look at the end cap pipe, does seem a little bit odd, but hey, that's the thing of it. Might be a bug, so that might get changed at some point. Then we've got fans, and we've got this thing here which is a twin-bladed fan, and this thing here which is a tri-bladed fan, and each of those will set you back 4 cobalt ingots and 40 sapphires. Now, crucially, the thumbnails for these fans have been swapped. So the tri-bladed fan has the thumbnail of the twin-bladed fan, and the twin-bladed fan has the thumbnail of the tri-bladed fan. It's very confusing. If you're building these things, go by the name, not by the thumbnail. The name is accurate, the thumbnail at the moment is not. I'm sure they'll fix it down the line. Anyway, they're fans. And yes, they go round, which is great. There we go. Yep. Hours and hours of fun. Let's turn it off and turn that off. So that's great. Moving parts, always fun, and I'm sure you can do all manner of fun things with these. I really look for, I mean, all of the props on this side of the room, I think are going to see some great use. Actually, I mean, to be fair, the trapdoors as well are awesome, and I'm sure that those are going to get a lot of use as well. But I know that the sci-fi builders have been pretty poorly done by. Let's be honest. They haven't had a lot of prop help, and these things I think are going to be great for sci-fi builders. Again, they're pretty much stuck to a particular colour palette, which is this sort of black and very light blue. But since the main building materials are stucco ball and obsidian, currently for sci-fi builds, I don't think that's a bad thing. It'll all blend in, which is great. I'm sure down the line we will have more colour options. I'm sure we will. But at the moment, this is a great start. So hurrah. Now, on to other changes. In the market, let's have a look. Search by category. Outfits. We have some new outfits, which please work. The showcase has a habit of really not working well for me. No, it's still not working. What the hell? Ah, right. Okay, it does. It's just really slow. So, colonists in countersuits. There's a whole slew of new ones. We've got a lime green version, a red and white version, an orange and grey version, and a blue and grey version. So that's very nice. Speaking personally, I'm not a fan of the colonists in countersuit. It's the they're leggings basically. You're wandering around tights. It's great if you're a superhero, but I'm not. So yes, that's the only reason really is that I just don't like the trousers. I'm so fussy. I really am. I'm a fussy pup, and I'm clearly really bad this week. But they're great. It's nice that they've introduced new colour options for clothing. At some point in the future, as I understand it, clothing will become modular, and you'll be able to sort of mix and match different parts of different outfits down the line. So that will be great. That'll be lots of fun. So I look forward to that. Until then, I'm very happy with my black Victorian formal. Thank you very much. Now, there have been some changes in ore distribution. Marble and amaranthine veins are now more plentiful on the surface of Tier 2 islands, apparently, and obsidian and alabaster veins are now more plentiful on the surface of Tier 4 islands. And seams of these stones found in caves, actually inside caves, should be quite a bit larger than their surface counterparts. So, you can still find these stones on the surface, but if you want really big veins of it, go underground. That's the advice. Now, something that will be of immense relief, no doubt, to others as well as myself. When you mouse over this arrow up here, you no longer get that annoying drop down. You can click on it and it will drop down. There we go. And after a period of time, it will float back up to the top, which is superb. But just mousing over it does nothing. When you first enter a claim, it will automatically drop down, but as you've seen, it will scroll back up in a few seconds. That's great. It's a tiny thing, but in terms of quality of life improvements, that has improved the quality of my life. Thank you very much indeed. And there's one more fun little thing that they've added, and I look forward to showing it to you in just a moment. Send! Here we are. And if you can hear it, I'm not sure how well game sounds come across on YouTube, we're by the coast. And yes, something I didn't mention last week is that they'd increased the ocean noise right by the coast, so it's actually really nice. I continue to be in awe of the oceans. They're just beautiful, and the swimming is spectacular. Really is. It really feels like swimming. They've done a superlative job in this, and they've just done something else, which is when you jump in the air, the game now determines what you're landing on or in, and will play the appropriate animations. Now, what they say is, among other things, this means that you will now dive headfirst into water. This doesn't quite work as it says on the label. Jumping into water, you don't dive. It's sad, but it's true, you just don't. But, check this out. Let's see if I can get it. Whoosh! That's great. So, just running into water, you do get the headlong dive animation, which is fantastic. But jumping into water, sadly, boing. Nope. You just sort of land. There is a difference, I think. There is a difference between the animation that you go through when you jump onto land and the animation that happens when you jump into sea. Oh! Ha ha! There we go. I've just given myself the line. That. Ah ha ha! Right. I have discovered a thing. So, just jumping, just regular jumping, you land on your feet. So you can jump into water. But if you use heroic movement, by which I mean if you hold down the shift key when you jump, sploosh, you dive. How cool is that? So yes, folks, heroic movement for the win. That's beautiful. I'm going to do that quite a bit more now. Playing. Okay, so if you enjoyed this episode, do please leave a like or a comment, and or, well, I mean, you can leave both if you want, and consider subscribing. Always happy to hear from you. Always love to get feedback from whatever angle, and if you fancy it, I'll see you again next time. Bye bye. I'm going to carry on dying. See ya. Whee!